Episode title, The Day After Tomorrow. Is climate catastrophe closer than we think? Good evening, I'm your host of the Cosmic Radio podcast. I'm Asher Knight. Tonight we turn our eyes to the storm, not just any storm, but a storm so massive, so devastating, that it could rewrite life as we know it. You've seen it on the big screen, the world plunging into an ice age overnight, cities swallowed by the ocean, tornadoes ripping through skylines. Fiction, right? Just Hollywood drama. Think again. In the last 2 decades, we've seen some of the most violent weather in recorded history, megastorms, raging wildfires, deadly floods. And the scientists studying our planet's climate have one thing to say: the worst is yet to come. So tonight we ask the question, could the world of the day after tomorrow be closer than we think? Could Earth be on the edge of a climatological nightmare? And if it is, will we be ready? Segment 1. The science behind the fiction. Let's start with the movie itself. The Day After Tomorrow, released in 2004, tells the story of a sudden climate shift triggered by the disruption of the Atlantic Ocean's currents, specifically the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. This system is what keeps warm tropical waters moving north and cold waters moving south. It's responsible for stabilizing much of the Earth's climate. In the film, a rapid breakdown of this current triggers a series of unprecedented superstorms, hurricanes forming over land, tornadoes devastating Los Angeles, a massive tsunami swallowing New York, and then the real killer, a flash freeze that plunges the Northern Hemisphere into an instant ice age. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But here's the part that should send chills down your spine. Scientists warn that this isn't impossible. In fact, some say it's already beginning. Segment 2. The Evidence. Our Changing World. The first decade of the 21st century saw some of the most violent weather on record, but the 2020s, the devastation has only escalated. Superstorms, Hurricane Katrina in 2005, Hurricane Harvey in 2017, Hurricane Ian in 2022. The frequency and intensity of hurricanes have skyrocketed, fueled by warming oceans. Wildfires. From California to Australia, entire landscapes have been reduced to ash by record-breaking heat and droughts. Rising seas, coastal cities from Miami to Jakarta are literally sinking as glaciers melt at an alarming rate. Cold snaps in a warming world. The 2021 Texas deep freeze left millions without power. Anomalies like this shouldn't happen in a warming world, or should they? The real question is, are we past the tipping point? Segment 3. The looming collapse of the AMOC. Now let's talk about the real monster lurking beneath the surface, the possible collapse of the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. It sounds complicated, but here's what you need to know. If the AMOC slows down or shuts off completely, the consequences could be catastrophic. Europe would freeze. Britain and much of Western Europe could be thrown into a deep freeze, with winter temperatures dropping by 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. North America would face mega droughts, crops would fail, wildfires would rage, the Mississippi River could dry up, monsoons would fail in Asia and Africa, millions could starve as food supplies collapse, the oceans would rise even faster. Some scientists predict that a full AMOC shutdown could lead to up to 10 feet of sea level rise in less than a century. And here's the terrifying part. Recent studies show that AMOC is already slowing down. Some experts believe we could see a full collapse within the next 50 to 100 years. Others warn it could happen as soon as the 2030s. That's not science fiction, that's reality knocking on the door. Segment 4. The warning signs and government preparation. So what is the world doing about it? Governments know what's coming. They've seen the models. The Pentagon has even labeled climate change as a threat multiplier, something that will cause food shortages, mass migration, and global conflict. China is building massive seawalls. The US military has climate adaptation strategies. Billionaires are buying bunkers in New Zealand. But what about you? What about me? What about the millions of people living in coastal cities, in drought-prone farmlands, in places that could be underwater or unlivable within our lifetimes? That brings us to the final question of the night. Will you be ready? Segment 5. What can we do? There's no stopping the changes that are already in motion, but there are ways to prepare. Pay attention to climate shifts where you live. Are winters getting harsher? Are summers unbearable? Have an emergency plan. If storms intensify, if food shortages become reality, how will you and your family survive? Support solutions. Renewable energy, water conservation, sustainable food sources. These aren't just buzzwords. They're what will separate those who adapt from those who don't. Because here's the truth. Whether it happens next year or in 50, the climate is changing and we are not in control of what happens next. All we can do is be ready. So what do you think, night dwellers? Is the day after tomorrow just an exaggerated Hollywood blockbuster, or is it a glimpse into a very real future? Maybe the storms will come slower than we think. Maybe the AMOC won't collapse in our lifetimes. Or maybe the ice is already creeping toward our doorsteps and we're just not listening. Whatever the case, the night grows colder and the wind is howling. Sleep well, if you can. I'm Asher Knight, and this has been the Midnight Hour. Until next time, stay warm, stay safe, and stay in the light.